It comes from Japanese psychology, and it's because we only are in the here and now. We're right now. We're not in the past, and the future is yet to come, and we can shape our future. But that acceptance of this is where I'm at in this very moment. What's my next step? What do I need to do? And it's really helpful and so effective.
Hello, I'm Dr Jodi Richardson, and you're listening to, well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Hello, thank you for joining me for another episode. You'll be able to tell by my voice, I'm so excited. I'm just buzzing because I've got Carly Taylor here with me today. And Carly and I, honestly, we've been chatting for about half an hour, and Carl's like, we should just hit record. And I'm like, yes, good suggestion, because we're just having these conversations, which really we'd love for you to be a bit of a fly on the wall for. So we'll do more of that next time, Carl's. But yes, and we also agreed we probably need to catch up for coffees in between podcasts a little bit more often. But Carly's been a dear friend of mine for a long time, and you may remember Carly joined me for my very first episode, so I felt really safe and secure starting my first episode with Carly. I knew she'd bring a beautiful tone and warmth and wisdom to episode 1, which was about acceptance, which is a topic when it comes to anxiety that is one that needs to be relayed with compassion, because it's not about saying we'll just cope with it. It's about, gentle, compassionate, empathetic acceptance for ourselves and what we're struggling with. And Carly then joined us again for episode 29, where we talked about anxiety, comfort food, and overeating, which is a challenge for so many. And Carly joins me today, and I'm really excited to share with you. Carly is a mindset coach. She's an extraordinary coach and works with people of a whole range of ages, men and women, and teenagers through to older people. I need to be careful because my mum listens. And Carly has recently taken a leap, and she's going to share with us a little bit about what she's been doing. But Carly, welcome to the podcast firstly.
Oh, thank you, Jodi. So good to be here. And we have had a really nice chat for about half an hour.
We have. And we were talking about, we were talking about so many things, and we'll be talking about those today. And one of the things is, first, tell us all, please, about the Masters of Counselling that you are underway with.
Yes. So I have started a Masters in Counselling, and I tell you what, if you had asked, my past self would never have believed that I would be doing a Masters right now. It's fantastic. I'm loving the content. I'm loving what I'm learning. I am way out of my comfort zone because, as you would know from your PhD, it's, there's an academic language and there's a lot of things that are involved that's very new to me. So I'm learning so much as I go, but it's brilliant and it's very stressful.
Yes, and it is. And you're a mum of 2. You've got a daughter in year 11. You've got a son who is going to year 7 next year. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, because they're our youngest are the same age. And so, you had a lot going on before you decided to extend yourself in this way. What motivated you? You said a moment ago that your past self wouldn't have let you. What's about your present self that's really motivated you to really challenge yourself in this way? Because it can't be easy.
Yeah, I guess it's now I'm looking at, if we're talking about past self, looking at my future self now and what I want to do. My kids are getting older, so I'm kind of starting to think, well, what's going to happen after they've sort of flown the coop or got older and are just a lot more independent. And there's a common theme that has run through my life, and that is that I really want to work with young people. The thing that's really preventing me from moving forward with that is just logistics, because a lot of young people need that after school time. And that's when I take my coach hat off and I put my mum hat on, which, committed to. So, but eventually, I would love to go and work in a school. I would love to bring all the skills and these strategies in to pass on to teenagers so they can grow up to be able to avoid mental health issues. We start talking now about becoming mentally fit. And it's these tools and strategies. We all know about physical fitness, but it's now what can we do to become mentally fit? So when there are challenges, that they have these under their belt and can live a rich, fulfilled life, even in the face of challenges. So I would love to do that because I never had that when I was a kid. When I was growing up, it was very challenging. And so I think that's my driver. So even though there's been times, I remember when my first assignment, which was only like 3 weeks ago that it was due, I have not felt that stressed in a long time because I'm having to think, find research papers and reference. As you will know, you've got to reference every single point that you put down. And it was just totally new to me. And my mind was literally, I was so stressed, it was telling me to quit. Just go, you don't belong here, just quit. And I didn't listen to it. Well, there might have been a little smidgen. But this sort of dream or desire to help young people is far bigger than what that inner critic was telling me. So, and of course I did the assignment and I passed it, and I'm on to the next one, which is due this Friday. But it's a really strong drive for me to help young people, and that's what's going to keep me going.
Oh, Carls, honestly, I feel so excited for you because it's like a new beginning, isn't it? You know so much. I neglected to mention to our listeners in your introduction that you've already done so much. You're a nutritionist, you've studied acceptance and commitment therapy, you are working and really impacting people's lives in meaningful ways and really supporting people to move forward in their own lives and to live with the challenges that come with being human. And you're so skilled and you're just such, you're a beautiful human and you bring every ounce of that to the work that you do. And to be able to be clear and know that it's the younger generation that sort of is really capturing your heart, and to have been able to take time to go, right, we'll get clear on what that is, because sometimes we're just so caught up, aren't we? And we just go, go, go. And to stop and think and plan, and then to go, right, well, this is where I want to go. How do I get there? And it takes sacrifice, doesn't it? I recall, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast. I don't know if I've ever told you actually, and I want to come back. I really want to come back to what your mind has been telling you, because I love the way you introduce that, because you're distancing yourself from your mind. You
Yes.
act therapist, you. But I had this dream when I was teaching. I knew I wanted to help. I knew I wanted to do something. And I thought the way to do that was to become a doctor, a medical doctor. Have I told you this?
I think so, yeah. And then when you
Yeah.
went to go to medical school, is that the story? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was working full time, teaching no kids at that stage, no, none of
Mm.
my own, lots of other people's. And that sounds wrong, doesn't it? In the classes that I taught at school.
Yeah.
Um, and I studied for the GAMSAT, which is a graduate admissions medical assessment test or something anyway, some acronym that's basically you do this huge exam, you see if you
Mm.
can do well enough to get into medical school. And I did all the courses. I went into the city and did all these preparation courses. I filled exercise books with biology and chemistry and mathematics and essay writing and all of that sort of thing, and worked myself to the bone for almost a year, did the test, got my test results, and my test results were good, not exceptional. So
Mm.
I didn't get a place. I didn't get an offering of an interview at Melbourne or Monash University. I'm Melbourne based, already engaged, home, pets, settled life. I had an opportunity to go for an interview at the University of New South Wales or Sydney University. And I knew that the interview would not be the challenge for me. I knew that the interview would be the easiest part of the whole journey. Anyway, at the end of the day, I spoke a lot with my psychologist about it. And he said to me that you can have almost anything you want in life, but you've just got to be prepared to make sacrifices.
Mm.
And it's what are you willing to sacrifice is the question. And I had to weigh up, because Peter said, I'll support you. I will support you. You can live in Sydney, study. I'll run the house here, because he had a job not long into his working life. Anyway, I declined the interview and opted to go on a different journey. And I'm remembering that experience because of what you're doing now, because we can do hard things, but we
Mm.
need to make room in our life for them. And so there are other things that you might have been doing that you can't. So what do you say to that? What sort of sacrifices do you feel you're making to make room for this beautiful new adventure?
Housework.
That's the best kind of sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely. I am prioritizing my life. So I have cut down. I've had to cut down on my clients
Yeah.
in order to do this, which is really unfortunate because I hate saying no to people.
Yeah.
But I mean, unfortunately, I haven't had to say no. I've had to spread them out a lot more than I am now. And definitely, I mean, the housework is something that used to really stress me out if my house wasn't to a certain level. Not that it ever kind of was there that much, but it still would stress me out.
Yes.
Find now that I'm just looking at around and going, if it's not done, it's not done. It's not, this is so much more important to me. And if I'm going to project myself forward and look back on my life when I'm older, there's no way I'm going to say I wish I'd done more housework. But what I could say is I wish I'd done that master's. So
Yes.
it's that's sort of recognizing how important this is to me. And I think it's not only sacrifice, but it's also how much discomfort you're willing to experience, because this is hard for me. I haven't
Yeah.
been at for years, and it's accepting that, yeah, it's okay to feel this discomfort in the service of something greater. And so I'm loving it. I'll give a call out to my friend Julie, because she's kind of like my buddy who I catch up every week, and she's amazing. She is an academic. So it's just been such an incredible support. So I'm making, those connections there as well, which, and I'm sure make more connections over the time that I'm there, just with really like-minded people. So
Yes.
yeah, that's the sacrifices and the challenge, the discomfort. It's all just a part of that process and a part of the journey.
Oh, it really is. And shout out Julie. Good on you for taking good care of Carl's and Carl's for taking care of Julie and being on the journey together. Gosh, it makes life so much easier. My friend Haley was my go-to. I had another friend, Manaz, and Haley and I are doing completely different things than what we studied in our PhDs, although actually mine's related but different. And even just having that one person, it can just be such a savior, can't it?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
I'm glad you brought up discomfort because I said no. I'd worked so hard. It's hard to convey how hard I worked whilst working full time for that future self.
yeah.
And then to have that invitation in my hand and to have a supportive fiance, but the discomfort, you're right, that it was more discomfort because I pictured myself living alone. I'd already experienced depression, and that was all part of the change. It was all part of the I want more, I want to do more. And
Mm,
so I knew my mental health needed really good looking after. I knew that if I was studying for medicine, I wouldn't be able to probably work. So financially, things would be really strained. I'd be away from Peter, my rock. I'd be away
mm,
from my family, my friends. I probably wouldn't be able to exercise and do the things that, I just saw myself just head down, bum up, head in the books, full time for 5 years, basically. And I thought, I can't do it. I won't do it to
mm,
myself. And so yeah, the discomfort and behind you on the bookshelf. So Carly Taylor is married to Paul Taylor, who's just recently released his first book, Death by Comfort. And I'll talk to Paul at another time if he says yes to joining me on the podcast. But this idea of discomfort and when it comes to anxiety, I mean, what was your anxiety like around starting something new about putting yourself in this, challenging situation? How did that go?
when this assignment was due, I had a complete meltdown. Like,
Did
I
you?
didn't last very long, but I did. But we had a group meeting where there were other students, and some of them are on their second and third units, and it was my first unit and a few others. And they actually said, if you're on your first unit and you're having your first meltdown, you're on track. It's all good.
Normalizing it.
It's completely normalizing it. And so yeah, it has been pretty high, but
Yes.
it's good because I'm just able to reflect on it and move forward. And if I can feel that in my body again, I know what to do. I can do my breathing techniques. We've got a row machine. I get on the row and I put the music on. I actually love listening to like hardcore rap music. It just,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, I do some exercise and just help calm everything down. And then just accept the situation of like it's that aragamama which I'm always using and applying to my own life is with things as they are. What do I need to do? Okay, I'm stressed, but what do I need to do? So that's what I do, and it passes. It does pass.
Yes. Oh, look, I love Aragamama. And I remember we've touched on it in the past. And with things as they are, what do I need to do?
Yeah,
And it's,
it's like a staunch acceptance of reality. It comes from Japanese psychology, and it's because we only are in the here and now. We're right now. We're not in the past, and the future is yet to come, and we can shape our future. But that acceptance of this is where I'm at in this very moment. What's my next step? What do I need to do? And it's really helpful and so effective.
oh, I forgot to mention about, see, so many strings to your bow, my beautiful friend. Japanese psychology and Aragamama with things as they are. What do I need to do? And I am going to quote you and share that a little bit more often because one of the things that I often share is about the FACE acronym through ACT. Focus on what you can control,
Yes.
acknowledge how you're thinking, what you're feeling, come back into your body and engage. And that's kind of Aragamama in an acronym, isn't it? Aragamama's so such a beautiful word. I love all these beautiful Japanese words that we can kintsugi and aragamama, and there's another one that escapes me at the moment that I've liked in the past, but so
Japanese,
powerful.
they have so many words that we don't have, and it's really interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
we can apply the concepts to our lives, which is amazing.
Yes. And one of the things that, but before we move forward, although gosh, it's just so much gold that you share every time I talk with you. Ah, we've got to just do this more often. Um, the idea of what your mind was saying to you.
Mm,
And it's such a big part of our existence, our day-to-day existence, these thoughts that we have. And you use that beautiful diffusion strategy of what my mind was saying, which is that distancing.
yeah.
How hard are you on yourself?
Oh, I can be really hard on myself. I mean, there's different. It depends on the situation, but if I'm triggered, if something triggers me, that inner critic can be really, really loud. And, I know where it comes from. And this has been part of the process of doing my counseling is I'm learning all about psychoanalytics. I'm learning all about behaviorism and the humanistic sort of approach. And so I guess we naturally, and it's part of this process of learning is that we apply it on ourselves. So this inner critic that I have, which probably tells me, I'm not good enough. There might be, a bit of I'm not worthy of this, although it's not that language, but that's kind of what it means. I know where it comes from. It comes from my past, and I think it's really helpful to recognize where this voice comes from because then you can create a bit of space. You almost use curiosity as a key to unlock this mental prison that we can often get ourselves in. If you're curious about this thought and it's like, oh, yeah, I know that comes from my past because when I was younger, like I came from a broken home and I was made to feel like I wasn't good enough from a very young age. And that carried through with me. And it's like everybody has got their narrative from their past. And I think that's where if we can recognize that's my narrative, there was one point when I was a child where I didn't have this narrative. I just felt love and love of others. And, these young kids, then they're just we describe them as being so innocent. And then all of a sudden it takes one person to say something to them in their head, all of a sudden it's like, I'm not good enough, or I should have done this, or I didn't behave that well. And then we start building this sort of self-concept and this self-identity that carries us through. So now when that comes up, I have a big inner voice that tells me that I don't belong,
Right.
and that comes from my past. That I can now be curious about this and observe it and go, okay, there it is, and maybe something has triggered it, but I can diffuse from that very, very quickly because I know that I am actually not the person in my past. Of course I am that person, but
Yeah.
we grow so much. Like life is forever evolving, forever changing. And so I look back on my past and I think, wow, I'm just such a different person than I was back then. So I think it's so important not to bring in your past identity into your present identity. And even
Mm.
though your mind's going to keep trying to pull you back there because it does, as we know, tries to protect us and go, oh, I recognize this situation. It's like you need to pull back, you need to withdraw. And I know that this is not helpful to me in this situation. This is not taking me towards a person I want to be. And then I can go, okay, with things as they are, Aragamama, got the voice in my head, be curious about it, and then move forward. So that's kind of how I manage it.
Carl, thanks so much. I just want to start by really honouring you for sharing openly with us about the way that you think and where it comes from and the experiences that you've had in your past and how so beautifully you're able to have that recognition and be an observer of your thoughts now
Mm.
and that curiosity that you bring because it's powerful and it helps us to move forward, but it's painful at the same time, isn't it? It's because
Yeah.
it's in the process of talking it through, we know that we can sort of step back and observe we're having a thought. We can use a diffusion strategy like my mind is telling me, or I'm having the thought that, or we have lots of different diffusion strategies. But in the middle of doing it, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tough. And it's not supposed to be easy because we're always going to go through these challenging times. And it's a skill. It's best to learn this skill, to practice this skill when things are going well. And
Yes.
then when things are challenging, that's when you can draw upon it. I've got a client at the moment who says that what she's finding challenging at the moment is she's always observing her thoughts. She's like, I can't stop observing my thoughts.
Yes.
So, it's about that practice and that repetition. And of course, it's not always going to happen. Think life can be so challenging that you can become really fused with what's going on internally. And that's okay. It's about reflecting on it and then moving forward. So, but it is
Yes.
difficult. I mean, I can give you an example. I was invited to a party the other weekend, and it was just a girls' party. And I was going on my own. It was a group of girls who I hadn't seen in a long time. So all of a sudden I've got this social anxiety, and my mind is going, don't go. Like it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. You're going to walk into this room and, you've got to have, all the chat that was going on about what could happen. Maybe you're not going to recognize anyone, or maybe no one's going to talk to you, or maybe they're going to think you're boring. All this chat, 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 chat. Anyway, I was just able to go, yep, okay, mind, thanks for that. And I know this is uncomfortable and that's okay. And I got dressed, said goodbye to the kids, and the kids are like, you're going to have such a great time, Mum. And it was so sweet because, kids can be so supportive.
Yes.
And I went to the party and it was great. And I met some new people and some really interesting, inspiring people. And I had a really great time. But it's that example, especially with social anxiety, your mind can be so loud with all the reasons why you shouldn't go and be in this social situation. And connection with people is so important that while your mind's coming up with that, it's like, no, what's important is I put my trackies on and I go and watch Netflix and have a glass of wine. Like, that's what I want to do. But it's and we do now know that the number one treatment for anxiety, especially social anxiety, is exposure, to actually just go and do the thing that's making you feel so uncomfortable, and then you move through that and come out the other side. So yeah,
Yes.
so that's that was just an example of me and my
Yes.
not listening to
Oh,
my critic.
and I think it's so nice, isn't it, for people to know that when you mentioned about social anxiety, you might have seen the expression on my face, like, oh, that there was a look of surprise because that's not something we've talked about before. But
Mm.
I recently had an experience of social anxiety that I never like. It's not something that gets in the way of, we talk about anxiety that's normal, human emotion comes and goes, and versus anxiety that's really getting in the way. And that's when those thoughts come up, those thoughts in the lead up, and then while you're there you're so internally focused, what am I saying, the right thing, and then you come home, what did I say, and all of that, and if it stops you from doing the things that are really meaningful in your life, then it's becoming a problem. But I was presenting a half day workshop, and honestly, having the time of my life. It was the most amazing group of teachers, and shout out to the Max group, that if you're listening. And the one person that I spoke to, I won't mention her name, but it was interesting because I was there as the speaker,
Mm.
and the organizers were just the most amazing women, two like fantastic women who I'd met before at a conference where they'd come along and heard me speak elsewhere. Anyway, when people break for morning tea, they're all connecting with each other.
Yeah.
And the organizers are usually kind of connecting as well because they're the ones that have brought everyone together. And I sort of just had this moment, which I hadn't had before. And I think it was because I had been traveling. I hadn't been eating as well. I hadn't been exercising as much. I hadn't been sleeping as well.
Mm.
And all of that kind of perfect storm, this thought popped into my mind that I went out to get a bite to eat. And I thought, am I going to have anybody to talk to?
Mm.
And the moment that that thought came in, I started to feel anxious. And then a beautiful principal came and just wanted to chat and just, and then she said, and she's listening, she said, I don't want to monopolize your time. Let me let you go. And I said, no, 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 you're not monopolizing my time at all. I'm really interested to know more because I was thinking, if you walk away from me, I'm standing here with nobody to talk to. And so, and again, she was so conscious that other people might like to have a chat and sort of do a bit of a debrief or share a story or connect the way
Mm.
she was enjoying connecting, that she'd sort of said, oh, look, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. I'm so enjoying talking to you because that felt safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in that moment, I was also having this internal monologue of Jody, wow, this is what this social anxiety is like. So I was trying to concentrate, really connect with her and keep her talking to me whilst also going, oh, this is interesting what's happening.
I think social anxiety, I think everybody experiences it at different levels. And people respond to it in different ways. So and because I really like to normalize it. It's just if somebody is responding to it that they're not willing to feel any discomfort whatsoever, and then so they retreat. And we know long term that's going to make them feel worse, but it's a short term avoidance relief strategy for them. So I think it is about learning these skills to be able to manage it, knowing that everybody, like I even, God forbid, I'm not sure whether Paul's ever felt any social anxiety, but he might be the only one. But everybody does. It's just there's different responses and there's different levels of it.
Yes, yes, it is.
What you do with it.
Yeah, that's it. I think the normalization of it is so powerful, that the anxiety, the discomfort, and this idea that, you know, Paul's book, Death by Comfort, and it's something we've spoken about before. We like to be comfortable, and it's
Yeah,
okay to be comfortable. But,
yeah,
like I did CrossFit this morning. Oh my gosh, it was hellish. It was awful. I
yeah.
was so uncomfortable. I was willing my little legs to just keep going on this bike, doing this, anyway. And
You're, you're paying someone for that.
I know, right? I know. And I said to Tam, our coach this morning, Tam's doing some coaching, you might remember Tammy. I said, oh, I feel like I got my money's worth today.
Yeah,
But people who exercise at a high intensity, whether it's CrossFit, whatever it is, sport, whatever it is, we love how it makes us feel. We love what it does for us. It's the connection, it's the endorphins, it's the miracle growth of the brain. It's everything about all of the biochemistry that changes, and the way it makes us feel, the strength, the fitness. But
mm,
it's not necessarily fun while we're doing it. There
no,
is that discomfort. There are those thoughts that, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I don't know if I can do this. But I
yeah,
say to myself, one of the things I say to myself, which comes from my dad, actually, I remember my dad he's a tradie. When he had a tough day, in roofs, under floors, not easy work, very physical work, he'd say to me at the end of the day, I'd say, how did you go today, Dad? And he'd say, look, it wasn't an easy day, but I always tell myself, no matter what's happening, eventually the workday will come to an end.
Mm.
Eventually, this will be done. This will be behind me. And and it's one of those little messages that a parent says that stayed. And I thought to myself, eventually this will be over.
Know that discomfort you're feeling, there's something really greater. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
Yes.
It's that we've got to challenge our own limits, and we've got to kind of outgrow ourselves. Dr. Stan Beecham, who was on Paul's podcast, he said something just so insightful, and I really love it. And I'll try and remember what he said, but it's walk to the edge of yourself and stare into the abyss and see what you can learn. And then walk away. And then every time you walk back there, you're walking a bit further. And what that means is that you're recognizing your limitations and pushing yourself a little bit. And then each time you push yourself, you go a bit further. And you can use that, the weights as that sort of analogy. Is like your muscles are going to grow, and every time it's like, okay, the weight's going to go up, and you can see how much you're progressing. And you can use that just in life. It's like, with that social situation, stare into that abyss, just go and dip your toes in. And then each time it's going to be easier and easier.
Yes. It's such a powerful quote.
Isn't
And
it?
I think that, I don't know. I mean, I'm 48, I'm staring down 50. And I just think of all the things I still want to do. I mean, I haven't even told my husband this, and I'm going to say this on the podcast. I'm having a guitar lesson tomorrow night, right?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So our daughter has singing each week, and I sit there and I chat with my great mates who are the parents of the other girls in the singing group. And I used to learn guitar when I was a kid. I really enjoyed it. And music is a huge part of our family. Like my daughter the other day, she just said it was music to my ears when our Spotify wrap up for the year came through. And we sat and looked at the summary of our Spotify listening together. And she goes, Mum, we have listened to more Spotify than, what did she say? We're in the top 25% of people who listen the most.
Yeah.
23,000 hours of music was played on Spotify in 1 year.
Yeah.
And she said, music is therapy.
It is.
And
She's
I'm
so
just like, yes, yes. So anyway, so she's a singer. My brother's was in a band. He's been a musician his whole life. I used to play the flute. I used to learn guitar. And I thought, you know what? I'm sitting there at the music studio. I'll ask the teachers if they've ever got a 30-minute lesson that becomes available while I'm already there. I might as well put it to use. So it is going to be a challenge. But for everyone listening, everyone's got their first guitar lesson, or their first pottery lesson, or their first Duolingo learning a new language lesson, their first assignment doing a master's of counseling. For anything new, there's always got to be the first. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. I know my fingers are going to hurt. I know my brain and my body are just going to be completely out of sync. But
yeah.
every time you take that little step, you go to that abyss, it gets easier.
That's right. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that you were doing that. I have a degree in music.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Too much, but yeah, I did a degree majoring in flute. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, we have that in common. Oh wow, I
No,
didn't know. So do you still play?
no, I don't. I play a little bit of piano, but no, it's a whole nother story that we could talk.
Another episode.
But what reminded me of your daughter saying that about music is therapy, because it was only this morning there are some African countries. Now, I'm not going to be able to name the ceremony or the tribe, but if somebody is struggling with depression or they're going through stress, they actually have these ceremonies that includes drumming and dancing and connection with people. They're taken out and they go through this whole ceremony. They're outside, And in this part of Africa, they had brought in, I think it was after the Holocaust, they had brought in these Western psychologists to help with the trauma of what had happened. And of course, in the West, we go into a room and we sit down and it's all very sterile and we talk about it. And yeah, long story short, these African Indigenous people, they sacked them and told them to go away because that just wasn't working for them. And there's research to show now that going out, connecting with people, having music and dancing and going through that ceremony is so effective for depression and for mental health issues. It's amazing. So it's a coincidence that she said that because I was reading about it this morning.
Oh, wow, it is. It's in the drumming in particular. When I was presenting at a conference in Brisbane with the Positive Schools Conference, the organisers at every event, there was always a beautiful entertainment. There was always beautiful entertainment, is what I'm trying to say, at the start of each day of the
Mm,
2-day conference. And the taiko drummers were the opening entertainment for the Brisbane conference. And it just went through us. These
yeah.
incredible, actually, they were Japanese drums from memory.
Mm,
And when John Marsden, who's just a national treasure here in education in Australia, when he spoke, he talked about the inspiration of the teacher who's brought all those children together to inspire them, this love of drumming and this working together and the communication through just looking at one another and body language and the way that it was so moving.
oh,
It
yeah.
almost could bring you to tears the way, that really powerful beat
Mm,
can just draw things out of you and you can express feelings when you otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to.
yeah.
Oh, I did not know you'd done a degree in music. It's to be able to play or sing or listen or just turn on the right music at the right time.
Yeah.
It's really something that can be part of our toolkit when it comes to our mental health for sure.
Do you know what? I'm going to look up African drum beats on Spotify. So yeah,
Yes, yes.
whatever.
Could you share?
I'm
Could you?
going to crank up the volume.
Yes, yes. And maybe if you find one you love, maybe if you could share it with me, and I'll do a little post on Insta. And
Yes.
yes, and so now, before we finish up, I don't want to miss the opportunity. Before we hit record, we were talking about the idea that, well, something you've seen on social media, and listeners will know that in recent episodes and more, I'm really inviting people who are listening to not only learn and that psychoeducation is so incredibly powerful. It is so freeing and so empowering, but
Mm,
also to consider what small change you might make as a result of each episode. What might you do differently? Or one episode and then take that change with you over the coming weeks and months. And I
yeah.
know you're so passionate about this too. And there's something that you said to me before we started recording about I am enough that I would love you to share if you could, please.
Yeah, because I've seen on social media there's a lot of mantras, so positive mantras that people can say to themselves, and if that works, then that's absolutely fine. Keep doing it. Positive mantras don't work for me; they actually make me feel worse. So if I'm telling myself I am enough when I actually generally don't feel that I'm enough, then it's not going to resonate me. It's not going to hit me deep or connect with me in a deep level. And I just, I'm enough. I think it depends on the situation because there might be situations where actually, if you're feeling like I'm not enough, then that might be actually the motivation to move forward and go, okay, well, maybe there are things I need to do to improve myself. Because if we just always accept that I am enough, depending on our situation, of course, then it doesn't feel like it's a motivation for growth. It doesn't feel like there's room for us to improve and take those baby steps towards the person we want to be, because life is a continual movement. We don't want to stay still. So I think there's that fine line between I am enough being a mantra to stop us from moving forward, and then I think there's also I am enough to bring in the arigama, I guess, is right here, right now, with things as they are. I am enough, but what do I need to do next? So all
Yes.
action, always something to follow.
And it's in the action that we really find our way. Sometimes I think I know when it comes to purpose, if we're talking in a bigger picture, that and I spend a lot of time doing this, thinking about purpose, reading about purpose. And at the end of the day, we discover what it is that we need by doing
Yeah.
and by taking that step forward and trying something. And it might not work out. I might do my guitar lesson tomorrow and go, what the heck was I thinking? I know that that's not the way I'll operate. I know that I haven't made this decision lightly. So,
Yeah.
but but that's okay. There have been other things that, it's like our kids, isn't it? They'll try a sport. They'll do 3 or 4 matches of basketball and then they'll go, "Oh," and you're like, "Well, hang on. I bought the uniform. I've paid for the season."
Get out.
Plus
Yeah.
it's good for kids to make that commitment to a team, of course, and most parents will say, "Look, let's finish the season. Let's finish the semester. Let's finish the term." But
Yeah.
it's that process of trying things on. All right, basketball wasn't it? Let's try soccer. Soccer wasn't it? Let's try footy.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what it was? After all that, it's a racket sport. It's tennis.
Yeah.
And the only way you get to tennis is by having tried other things. Some people are lucky enough to arrive at tennis at the very start. But yeah, it's trial and error. And we invite that in our kids, don't we? We encourage that in our friends to just give it a go. If you're not sure, give it a go. See
Yeah.
how it feels and learn from it.
Yeah, life is not supposed to be just in a straight line. It's curvy. It goes all over the place. And we need to accept that. And you're right. It's like what we do every day is going to shape our future, and not being afraid to fail, not being afraid that, oh, okay, maybe wasn't the right decision for me. Because it's the only way that we're going to grow is by doing.
Yes, but we do. I recall feeling I started a science degree when I finished high school. And I hated it, Carls. I mean, I ended up going and studying chemistry. I did a double major in chemistry and physical education when I did my education degree. But
Mm,
the overwhelm of being in a huge university with 300 students in a lecture, I was 17. I was just completely overwhelmed and so unhappy. The
mm,
decision to stop that degree, and I went and worked as a receptionist in a real estate office for the rest of that year and then started a different degree the following year. The shame I felt for quitting, and I'm using talking marks, which only Carly can see, um, just the internal battle with what will people think? I've committed to this, the money I've spent, just all of that. It was the one of the greatest things I ever did was to say, that's not right for me. I need
mm.
to do something else. But like you said before, it's not going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy. But
Yeah.
even when it's not easy, we can still do it. We can still make the decisions in our gut, in our heart, in our experience we know are the right ones for us.
Yeah. And I also think that we can become quite self-focused with all this stuff, and even going back to that "I'm not worthy" question. Something I find really, really effective is, rather than thinking about ourselves, it's what can I do that's worthy to someone else? What can I give to others that is worthy? And through that process, you can then feel your own self worth. But that's not the primary goal of doing it. I think connecting with others, really working out what you can give others, how you can help others, is only going to have a positive influence on you.
That is such a beautiful place to finish because when we look outside of ourselves,
Mm.
we heal ourselves in so many ways, don't we? And like you say, it's not the purpose. It's not like, right, I need support and help. Okay, who around here needs help? But it's just that, yeah, in doing that with a beautiful, kind heart to do, we get so much more in return.
Yeah.
Just one quick stat before we wind up, and I invite you to share how people can connect with you and your wonderful work. I joined an app. I downloaded an app and signed up for an app called Be My Eyes, and it's an app for people who are vision impaired to
Mm.
connect with someone who has full vision. And I only ever got one call through Be My Eyes where a fella was making soup and he was in the pantry and he didn't know whether or not it was a box of long life milk he was reaching for or a box of stock. And he
Oh,
needed me to
yes.
share my vision, to look in his pantry as he used his camera on his phone to choose the correct. And then we started. I said, "Well, what soup?" I didn't want him to go. I'm like, "What soup are you making?" And he's like, "I'm making pumpkin soup." And I said, "Oh, how do you make yours?" "I do this." And we
Yeah.
got chatting and he was going to add a bit of curry paste to make like a sort of a curry pumpkin soup. And it was the most fulfilling experience. And when you look at the app, I think it's in the millions of people have said, I want to help someone versus the hundreds of thousands who need the help.
Yeah.
There's so many people who want to help, but there's not enough people who need it for us to get,
Wow.
and
Amazing.
it's just the most extraordinary sign that, that the gift of giving is, it can sound cliche, but when you really experience the fulfillment that comes from doing something in an altruistic way for another person, it's just, yeah, it's just beautiful. We could talk all day. I need to be at a lunch in 8 minutes, which is just down the road. But Carl's, honestly, you are just such a divine friend and just so knowledgeable, and I'm just so, and not only that, your wisdom and your experience and what you're sharing and learning is just such a joy to bring to my beautiful podcast community. So thank you. And how
Oh,
can listeners connect with you?
oh, thank you so much for having me again. It's just, I love it. I love our chats. So my website is carlytaylorcoaching.com.au. Otherwise, Instagram, I'm not hugely active on Instagram, but I try to put some useful things up there. Yeah, I think that's some of the two ways of
Yeah.
getting in touch.
Fantastic. And yeah, look, you've got other bigger fish to fry at the moment, and Instagram will always be there. So but yeah, Carly, yeah, what you share when I see your posts pop up, I always love them. So thank
Thank
you. I'll put those in the show notes. And look, thank you again so much. It's just, yeah, it's just been amazing. And yeah, and let's organise a coffee soon, shall we?
So, no, yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully before Christmas, but if not
Yes.
Christmas, and Merry
If
Christmas
not.
before Christmas as well.
Oh, thanks, Carls. Thanks so much. And thank you so much for joining me. It is just, again, it's just a privilege to have you with us. And I hope you've enjoyed today's episode as much as we've enjoyed creating it for you. And keep an ear out. There is fresh content for you every week over summer. So I've been recording and interviewing and really want to make sure that you have everything you need to get you through summer. And this is just one of those episodes that you'll have to listen to and learn from. So thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr Jodi Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.